Let it trip.
Okay, Johan. Cheese hot yadi. Kewa khosatin. Awus aya akak. Addition. Shukwa pa aya dakhto suguka dakhto apu. When kuku aya. Ya. What's I got to sa Tlingit ina? Ya de lekach ina Tlingit alphabet. Ade Tlingit ina dua achjiye. So there's these cards that came out a while ago with the Tlingit alphabet. So what I thought we'd try, because there are many of us, so working as a team, I will draw one of these cards and I will say its name, and you tell me its name in English. And then somebody can make a sentence using this name. And then I'll tell you about this other project we've got cooking, which we might be able to launch this month. We'll see. But we'll just do this as a little warm-up activity. Oops. Rock. Yeah, away. Like rock. Can somebody make a sentence with te in it?
Techatin.
Techatin. Goodness cheese. Walk. I. Yeah, away. Walk. Can somebody make a sentence using
Walk unique.
Walk unique. Yishan. Zisk.
Dasa.
Zisk. Lekach enach moose. Anybody online want to try and make a sentence with zisk?
Yadu ya dis.
Yanaka.
Yadu ya dis.
Yadu get this. Yadu this. And that's a pretty close moose. Yadu. Which is fine. Oh. That's it. Shukran. Kutku.
Mud shark.
Yeah, away. Kutku. He's got kind of a funny picture on the thing. Kutku is a dogfish or a mud shark. Everybody say kutku.
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 Kutku. Kutku. And then we had te and walk and zisk. So can somebody use kutku in a sentence? Okay. Kutku achjiu. Okay. Yeah, away. 8. 8. Well, there's a couple of hard ones. Isikuksha. 8. Aya klechach enach blowfish.
Blowfish?
Oh. Is it a red eye? Yellow eye.
Like that would be sheikh. This one is 8. And it's a TL apostrophe high tone EI TL apostrophe. 8. 8. Somebody make me 8 sentence. Not a sandwich.
Gusuwik. 8.
Gusuwik 8. Echasaku. Na.
Medicine.
Na.
Octopus?
Yeah, away. I went to the bank in Sitka one time. And I guess on Fridays or something, they used to, I don't know if they still do it, they have this thing where if you can answer their trivia, I don't know what you get because I didn't. It says, what's another word for octopus? I said, na. And they said, no, devilfish. I was like, close my account. Somebody make me a sentence. No. And this guy has its own, when you're going to go out for this na, how do you go get one of these?
My friend Marzie said her grandma said that they used to go out at low tide and build rock houses. And then when the tide came in, they'd wait for it to go out and then they'd go and poke in the house and they'd be hiding in there.
Oh, wow. You can. So building a tehiti al shayich. You can. Tehitas al shayich. And then it becomes like a little rock trap.
My brother pours water in it where we go close to Huna and he's poured, my dad also does it. He puts something else in it, but I don't know what it is, but he pours it in the hole and he pokes around with a hook, a real long one.
That really long hook is called tana. Tana. Because there's a verb, a tunk, which means to go hooking for octopus. It just gets its own special verb, and it gets its own special tool. Long time ago, they had a really long kind of a pole with a hook on it, and you would put it into the poo. It lives in a little den layer under the big rocks, especially, and you get them.
Like a gas hook?
Yeah, it's got like it's like a gaff hook.
They climb into shrimp pots too and pull them up.
Oh, okay.
Shrimp pots.
Yeah, you can get them because they can, if their beak can fit through, they can get through anything.
Yeah.
And they're really smart.
Kadli iji kut chayanaha.
Stars?
It's a star or stars. So everybody say Qutch ayanaha. So right in the beginning we hear this Qutch part, which comes from kudach, right? Qutch ayanaha. It's like a verbal noun. The way this one was explained to me is it just moves so much you can't even count them, right? So the qutch part means too much. So somebody make me a sentence with qutch ayanaha.
Aktuasigu kut ayanaha.
Ach tuwasagu qutch ayanaha. Okay. He'll do two more, and that'll get us to 9. Maybe we'll do 11. Oot. Yeah, we're Coach Yeti. Just now seeing your chat. Oot.
Is it your tongue?
Yeah, oh, wow. Oot. 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 L apostrophe high tone O T apostrophe. Oot. Raven ever says, "Dak sak ish oot." Stick your tongue out. Don't do it because he's gonna twist it off or pinch it off and throw it into the water, so you don't tell on him. So they say. And then dak sak oot. Stick out your tongue. But somebody else make me a shoot sentence.
Daki Slitsuyi Tlut.
Yeah. Daki shitsu yi toot. Y'all stick out your tongues. Okay. Oh, I think I've got 2 decks here. Hodja.
Hujja.
Hodja.
Hujja.
That's another good one. There's some good ones in here. So we're going to see more. It's a skin scraper from tanning hides. Hodja.
Hujja.
Hodja.
Hujja.
Hodja.
Hujja.
So my guess is if we looked up watch, we might find a verb. But let's take a look. To be soft, flexible, to make soft, to scrape a hide, to soften it. So that is why it's called hodja, because it's gonna hodge. There was also, we were talking today about just the way that Tlingit likes to categorize things. And we were talking about seals and deer. And I said, oh, there's different verbs. And so Tlingit has like a verb for very specific things sometimes. For example, we were watching somebody cut the skin off of a seal. And I told my daughter, Adugu awa adach akash. He's cutting the skin off. And then I was corrected by Natski Ish Ted Valley, who said, it's this one, it's 8. So it's 8 would be he or she is cutting the skin off of a seal, right? So this is especially cutting a seal. And so, and I don't know if I don't think the difference here, like as we read it, is whether or not it's a type of animal, but it's really how are you cutting it off? Because if you're cutting it to do something with that skin, it might be a little different if you're just going to cut the skin off and toss it. So that could be it there. And then ish is the other one. So shikish and yetzeit. But those are the 2 verbs for skinning an animal, right? And then to be able to use this, we gotta do a little bit more looking around, and we can do that some other time. Okay, any questions? Anybody got any questions, thoughts, language stuff they're thinking of?
Hodja.
Oh, gusuwe hodja,
Okay,
gunishish.
this is the question I have about gusu.
Mhm.
You don't need that way if you have another, like gusu, hodja.
Yeah, or you could just say gusu hodja, but that might sound a little bit like a person named hodja, right? But I think it still works because you say gusu we gao, gusu gao, wu. I think it's fine, but I think the we gets used so much that it just gets, for learners, it gets a little frozen in there.
So would I say something gusu hodja?
Yeah, gusu hodjagi. Yeah, so those ahs they're all like short, A-Y-I. Yeah, and the same thing. So like, because I'll hear people say, gusu we kla. And it's just like, you don't need the we in there. It's sort of like if you said, where is that my mother? Right? And so the we just hear it so much, especially gusu we gao. Like that's, even if people don't know the Tlingit language, a lot of people hear that phrase and know that phrase. But then, yeah, so once you have gusu, it's just where is, and then you can have we. It doesn't need.
And these cards remind me of the concept that they say that learning a second or more language is much faster if instead of translating you use images. So it goes straight to the concept,
Right.
not the language thing, and then to get to the concept. And you've got the pictures there.
Yeah, and so what would be fun is to build ourselves up to where you would draw a card, kale, and then you would look at it and maybe just think for about 10 seconds. And then we'll just start a little timer and you'll just talk in Tlingit for a minute about kale. So that's where I want us to get to. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to tell us the origin, you don't have to teach us in it, you just have to talk about it. And I think that would be a good exercise. And I got that idea from, somebody made a game called Speak Easy, I think it's called. And they made a Tlingit version. And I only know this because somebody, I think a tourist, had it and gave it to someone who ended up taking a class, and they gave it to me. But I think that one, there's like a thing, like berries. And then that could be like the topic. And then there were two other, you could either pick a new topic or you could pick like I haven't played it, but it's the structure is basically you draw a card and you got 10 seconds and then you got to speak for a minute. And then the idea is to just try and encourage and to have a bit of a game where people are kind of speaking. And the other thing too is I want us to start trying stuff like this, not yet, but we're going to get there, so that we're getting into the business of language production. Because I think historically, students of Tlingit learn a lot about Tlingit, but when we just say, okay, speak, it's just that part of it is maybe the thing we want to focus on, so that you're just able to make the language. Go ahead.
For the cards, it would be easier if they were like, you know, Gupwa or
What?
for the card instead of an octopus, which would be harder to come up with a minute to talk about.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
talk about, you know, something else.
Right.
Or
Because you end up like there's a fish which I have no idea what it is. It's called Qanaqutis, which means it stares out over the bay, and it's called a ratfish. And I don't know anything about it in Tlingit or English. And the sample sentence in the dictionary is, I don't know anything about this fish. It's like a great sample. But yeah, so I think the game that they developed, it's more like ku'i. So you get these sort of bigger concepts and you talk for a minute about that, or dancing or hunting. So it might be a bit of a challenge for this to say, you know, gishu. Talk for a minute. But maybe.
So we have lots of games.
Mhm.
We had this second hour of class, you know, a bunch of games. People could get in small groups and talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess we could try that too. We've got our online folks, so
Oh, yeah.
sometimes I feel like we need to just do that, set up a separate time where we do that, and then encourage them to do the same with some folks. And so this is one thing, this is a deck of cards with just nouns, but even though it's nouns, you can still find things to do with them, to invent things, like make a sentence, make a short story, or I could maybe I could say, let me draw 3 cards and you got to put them together somehow. I'm not going to use smallpox. But flower, ikahuin, klud, and shah. You could do that, right? I mean, they're not really on the mountain a little bit, but you could say shah da awe yakutan klud ikahuin ayah yekanahuin. Yeah, but it's getting a little bit more advanced, but then you could say shah da, around the mountain, kutan, away in the summer, klud, the fireweed, ikahuini, the flower on the fire. They begin to blossom because ikahuin is a flower, but it also comes from a verb, which is to flower. I don't know which one came first, flower or the flower. Okay. But yeah, then we've got others. We've got decks of cards now with all the numbers in Tlingit. And if you like numbers, numbers are another kind of fun way to just goof around in the language. Because I was messing around with just teaching my kids to count by 2s and 3s and 4s, and doing that in Tlingit was kind of a challenge. Doing that in English is also a challenge. And so, but then you can also play cards, like a lot of card games. I think we were playing 99 was a fun card game that Ashqe taught us. And then there's the cribbage. You could a lot of different card games you could do in Tlingit. Just we might need to come up with some other vocabulary for some if we're going to really get into like, I don't know, like Texas Hold'em or something. They've got like certain words they use for that. But yeah, I think we're going to explore more ways to just sort of be in the language, and then games are helpful because there's this sort of medium. There's this thing that drives it. Because one of the difficulties when you get groups of people together and say, move into the language, a lot of times they'll say, I don't know what to talk about, right? And so here, because not only is there pressure to converse, but there's pressure to converse in this language that you're just beginning to master. So, any other thoughts or questions? So I thought leading up to the break, we'll move through this chapter again on feelings. So we're here on page in the beginning Tlingit workbook. We did these ones last week. So we'll kind of move through them. I just say them a couple times just for a review. And then we'll get kind of caught up. We'll take our break. Then we'll start looking through the word lists that you guys have selected. I don't have them all on the Google document yet, but I'm getting close. And then I'll try and challenge myself with the technology and see if I can share this Google document with you so you can change them if you want. Okay. I'm hungry. Ach eat yan uwaha.
Ach eat yan uwaha.
Ach eat yan uwaha.
Ach eat yan uwaha.
I'm sleepy. Ach eat yatawaha.
Ach eat yatawaha.
Ach eat yatawaha.
Ach eat yatawaha.
I'm tired. Chet with the chet.
Chet with the chet.
Chet with the chet.
Chet with the chet.
I'm thirsty. Chet shawa kuch.
Chet shawa kuch.
Chet shawa kuch.
Chet shawa kuch.
Are you hungry? E eat ke yan uwaha.
Eat get yan uwaha.
E eat ke yan uwaha.
Eat get yan uwaha.
E eat. Oh, are you sleepy? E eat ke yatawaha.
Eat get yatawaha.
E eat ke yatawaha.
Eat get yatawaha.
Are you? So that one's sleepy, and then this one is more like exhausted. Are you tired? You dechwetske.
You dechwetske.
You dechwetske.
You dechwetske.
And this one they would say a little different in Tesla. How do you think they'd say it in Tesla? Im dechwetske.
So could you scroll back so we can see the last one? So the question, the question part
Marker.
of the sentence marker is in the front. And then if you scroll again so we can see both. No, please say with me.
Right there.
And now this one, the question is at the end. Why did it switch? Why does it switch with those?
So the ge this is how you mark a yes or no question. Once you put get in there, it's become a yes or no. And so one of the steps we want to do is make sure that we're learning how to use that. Because in English, we would use sort of tone and word order. Like there's a difference between you want coffee and do you want coffee? So we use the word do in there, right? So for Tlingit, the ge makes it a yes or no question. And the way that it works is it comes right after the thing you're asking about, right? So for the first one, eat, that means it arrived to you. So the logic of the language is saying, has sleep arrived to you? Or, is it to you that sleep arrived? I guess it would probably be a more accurate translation of what the Tlingit is doing. So part of it has to do with how we communicate the particular feeling. For example, when you say, I'm sleepy or I'm hungry, you literally say, sleep has arrived to me, or hunger has arrived to me. So it has to do with this motion, this thing suddenly showed up. With iudechwek, like that's just a really more straightforward verb. I am exhausted. So that one it would come after. Iudechwek. And so my advice is just to start looking for this get and where it's popping up. If you're asking about a verb, like did it verb or is it verbing or did you, then it comes right after the verb, right? Iyatinke, do you see it, right? But if we're talking about something else, like, and if the sentence is getting complicated, is that your mother next to that lady? Ika akwa we shawat khank. Right? Is that your mother? So ika akwa. So akwa is awe plus ge. A ge we yit akwa. But if I say, or is that your mother? I guess the better way would be, is that your mother standing next to? Is that your mother next to my father? Ika akwa ach ish khank. Or is that, is that my father next to your mother? Ach ish akwa, ika khank. So we'll see this get pop up. There's this thing we'll go through probably next week. We'll start looking at it called Little Readings in Tlingit. And it's got a few of these in there with that get. But for now, it turns it into a yes or no question. It does not always go on the end. It commonly goes on the end. But it usually comes after where the question is being focused.
So sleepy is not yatawaha.
No, it's achit. There's that eat part has to be there. Because yatawaha means sleep is invisibly moving. That's literally what it means.
So the ta is the sleep part.
Yeah, so the yata is a noun. Yan is a noun. Yan is literally hunger, right? And so hunger is like moving around, and then it comes to me. It might come to you. Okay. And so this is a different way to pose a question with the it uaha, but the yan drops out, the yata drops out. And when we just say, what has come to you, is really literally what this is asking. But it will pretty much always be interpreted as, what are you hungry for? Right? So this isn't like an idea has come to me, because you can't eat that idea, right? So usually once you say blank ach it uaha, you are hungry for that thing. And that's just how this stuff works. And you can get the logic of it has its own logical structure. And these are just some things to just keep in mind.
Ask us why there's no get in these questions.
Oh yeah.
Ask us.
So why is there no get in the dasa it uaha question?
It's not yes or no.
Mm-hmm. It's not yes or no. So dasa is what. So what are you hungry for? So we'll see this too. Whenever you're sort of looking for what is it, like I could say, Achtuwasagu, I want. Ituwasagu, you want. Dasa ituwasagu, what do you want?
So the get is like, right?
Yeah.
It came to you, right? That sleep that's wandering around?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, is that your mom? It's yes or no, right? You can't say about 2:30, right? Okay. Dasa e ituwaha.
Dasa iit uaha.
Dasa e ituwaha.
Dasa iit uaha.
Now we get to be hungry for all these things. Utchi.
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 That's not a very good picture. I could have done better. There's too many spices in there. That's not legitimate utchi. Utchi is boiled fish. It's not just any boiled fish, I think. I think utchi, for some of the folks that I know who really like to make utchi, the only thing I think they might like better is telling somebody how to make utchi, because they'll be right there and they'll be like, you better put those potatoes in. That fish needs to go in, but only for 5 minutes, right? So it's like, there's not very many ingredients. This is Tlingit boiled fish. This comes from a verb which is she'ut, which means to boil fish, for boiled fish, right? And so it's a very Tlingit dish because it has its own name, it has its own verb, it has these limitations on what you could put in there, I think. So if you were craving boiled fish, or you were suddenly hungry for it, you would say, Utchi ach itu waha.
Utchi ach it uaha.
Utchi ach it waha.
Utchi ach it uaha.
Atchishi.
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 And there's a verb root in there, which is chish. I've never heard it, but I know that there's a verb root there, just because the way that thing is structured. You have the ut, which is something. So the ut could also be substituted. What do you think you would, if you put something in place of that ut, what do you think it might be?
Way.
Hmm?
Way.
Weh? No.
Hot.
Chat. Yep. What else could go in there? Uchi. Right. So it could be a type of fish. That's the only thing you could change that to. I guess you could try and make tuna ishi. Right? You could make chat ishi, uk ishi, hot ishi. So it would be ishi. The type of fish could go right there. The ut makes it just something. It's something. But then the ishi is specifically dried fish that's dried through this process that makes it kind of stiffer than other types of smoked fish. I have also heard at duwakishi, which means somebody dried this fish. And so that was this, what would we call, a fluent comprehender who was from Klukwa. That was Helen Watkins who said that. At duwakishi.
I was just gonna say, I heard it, Aishi,
Oh,
from my mother and my grandmother, and that's a Klukwan variation.
say it again.
Aishi.
At
But actually,
duwakishi.
it's not Aishi up there, they say Aishi,
Oh, wow.
Aishi.
Wow, so this might be one of those verbs where it's pretty common for a verb root to have two variations. It would be ish in Southern Tlingit and sometimes Yakutat and Teslin, and aish in Huna and Klukwan and Juneau
And I heard Kingi Stitt also say it that way.
Oh, really?
So it must be a Papuan one.
Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we'll just continue to stress too, like we learn how to say things in here, but that doesn't mean that there's not other ways to say it. And so I try to collect dialect variations when I learn them and just say, we're teaching you this, but if you hear it different from your people, say it like your people, right?
They'd also say Utke. It was a A rather than E.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Utke. I always heard it all my life that way.
Wow.
So my dad, who's Nishka, called it that.
Really?
When we commercial fished in Bristol Bay, we got a humpy.
That could be
We make Utke because it wasn't something we could sell, because everything that you sold out there was sockeye. But they didn't buy humpies.
okay.
They buy cohos in September, but nobody bought humpies out there.
Wow. Nayadi.
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 Nayadi achitu aha.
Nayadi achitu aha.
Atchishi achitu aha.
Atchishi achitu aha.
Utchi achitu aha.
Utchi achitu aha.
So Nayadi is half tried. And then that's one where the Tlingit word moves in. There's a lot of people who know that word. They know Nayadi. And then this one, we were just talking about this today in the class. This is a fun section to sort of talk about this. In English, there are some words, there's some foods where the name of when we eat it, we call it a different name, right? Can somebody think of an example?
Cow and beef.
Cow, but we eat beef.
A pig and pork.
Pig, pork. Then there's this one that's kind of in this middle zone, because I had this awkward experience this summer because I had lamb. But when you eat lamb, it's not really lamb, right? Because a lamb is what? Like as a noun, not as a food. I guess it's a noun anyways. But as an animal, if I said, look at the lamb.
Baby.
A baby sheep, right? And we're not always eating, these aren't all babies. This is a weird sort of, I think it's a weird language thing, is arguing with people.
Mutton.
Yeah, I said, rich people don't eat mutton. And rich people don't eat sheep. Because we were at this nice,
They eat
we
lamb.
were at this bourgeois artist residency. It was wonderful. But then somebody was like, I was cooking some leftovers because we had this lamb that was delicious. And this guy was over and he's like, what are you making? That smells so good. I was like, it's lamb. You want some? He's like, no. And he just seemed so shocked. And I said, it's not like a baby. I'm not eating a baby. I was like, they just call it lamb because people don't like to say shit. And we had this big debate. But with Tlingit, it's usually just sort of, because the other thing too, is you don't usually eat flesh or muscle. You eat what? Like the meat? Right? So meat is a term that we also use to say, because in Tlingit you call it glee. Or you say glee,
Glee.
glee,
Glee.
glee,
Glee.
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 If you're from Teslin, you put those guys over it because it's a gleam. But that could mean your muscle, right? So chedli would be a verb to be muscly. Chedli. Yeah, Rocky Balboa. Maybe Rocky Balboa was there. But then glee is also meat, right? So if you took, that's the way Tlingit gata beef, or guatyata cow. Wasus. So wasus, I don't know if you guys online. Wasus glee is beef, right? And we know that it's become meat because it gets the possessive pronoun, which means it has been removed. Right? So this is something you're going to see in here, but the way you're going to see it, you'll see it in a second, but we're dealing with fish. And the meat of fish has its own name. It's not the, it's chuchu. Chad chuchu.
Chad chuchu.
Chad chuchu.
Chad chuchu.
Chad chuchu.
Chad chuchu.
It's like book. So, yeah, I'll use this. I'll put this on the thing.
So the cow, beef, pig, pork, the cow and pig are Anglo-Saxon, which is German,
Mm-hmm.
and that beef and pork are French.
Really?
When the French invaded England, and they were on top of the heap,
Huh?
at the table.
Where's the beef?
So those are from French. When they get to
Okay.
the table, they're French.
Sheesh. So cow was beef, pig was pork, and then sheep and lamb.
Actually, mutton, I think.
Right? Yes. Right. And then, what else did I have on here? So I had flesh or muscle becomes meat.
Baby cow versus field.
Oh, that's right. So we had
Overfed baby cow.
baby cow,
Oh, calf.
calf
Yeah.
is veal. Fancy. And then glee was meat or flesh or muscle. And then glee, well, I guess this is only flesh or muscle, would be meat, right? And so, again, so we see the chat here, so that could be substituted with other types of fish, any type of fish. Right? Oops. Khataga. So you could say chas chuchu.
Chas chuchu.
Oh, what kind of meat is that? Meat of chas chuchu.
Pinks.
Yeah, away, pink salmon. Ooh, chuchu.
Silk coho.
Coho. Qad chuchu.
Sakai.
Chat chuchu.
Halibut.
And then to make a soup or a broth, tahini.
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 And a juice, at-kahini.
Tahini.
At-kahini.
Tahini.
At-kahini.
Tahini.
So there's that at again. What do you think we can do with that?
Anjas kahini.
We can substitute anjas kahini, kanat kahini, guiches kahini. I like to call a pear tukta de kakukak. It's a basket butt apple because I think it's funny. I'm not trying to insult any pears. So the at one is a lot of times it's a placeholder. It means some things, the juice of something. And that's just juice. Now you can have kahini and any other kind of fruit you wanted to. Or I guess it's in kahini. There it is right there. Okay. Cake.
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 Cake. Cake.
Cake.
Then seal oil. Sa'echi.
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 Saechi.
Or those southern Tlingits. Sa'ichi.
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 Seal meat. Sagli.
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 Deer meat. Guacangli.
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 Okay. Pilot bread or cracker. I think it's usually pilot bread though. For like saltines, they say aqaq, which is a board, like board, cracker. But for pilot bread, qaq,
Gak.
qaq,
Gak.
qaq,
Gak.
qaq.
Gak.
This name comes from a type of mushroom, kind of a crunchy or kind of a mushroom. Or fungus. Potatoes. Kunz.
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 Or kunz.
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 Do you think there's some people who make an I sound, like kunz or something?
And up north they use the G.
Oh yeah, gun. Yeah, this K, this pinched K, this ejective K, becomes a G in some areas. And so like we'll see shirt. That's the way, what's that do a soft shirt? Kudas. In Yakutat they call it gudas. Right? So that's a dialect switch. And some of those are pretty, they're predictable. Other things, like sometimes they'll have a whole different word for the same thing. Like Yashuklet is a cockle, and they call it saw in Yakutat. It's just got a totally different name. Shao.
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 Sao.
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 Gosh.
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 Kahak.
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 Ikshashtin.
Sixteen.
Ikshashtin.
Sixteen.
Ikshashtin.
Sixteen.
Shakask.
Lakask.
Shakask.
Lakask.
Shakask.
Lakask.
Ach.
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 So this one, we'll do these two, then we'll take our break. So asking, what do you want? So the other thing is, like, this is the first time we really start looking at a verb in this sort of way that we list them today. So we call this a verb theme. This part up here, we call it the verb theme. It's like Kaki Shawu Kiri Eggleston refers to it as the skeleton. This shows you all the components that would be there, and then you learn how to use that to sort of figure out what types of lists might you pick something from. So in this case, the capital N, what do you think that might be?
Noun.
Noun, right? So it could be a pronoun, it could be a person, it could be kinship, it could be chashakach tuwasagu. Porcupine wants blank, right? And then you've got tuwa. The tu part is inside a closed container. The ya is a face of something. It's kind of an interesting thing, but tuwa together, which sounds very similar to tu, but tuwa means to want, to desire, to like, and it's all sort of tied into that. And then sigu on its own as a verb means happy. And so then, what do you think this capital S thing is doing?
Subject.
That's the subject. So you would put a subject in there. But this is one where the subject doesn't change a whole lot unless we're talking about, you better put on your favorite love albums and turn the lights down and light the candles, because if you said, ach tuwa chisiku, that's getting pretty fresh. You could say that, like, I want you. That's like, I want you, baby, right? And so usually this is just, it just stays a third person. You usually just hear tuwasaku, tuwasaku, tuwasaku. This verb is also how you'd say, I like it. I like coffee. I like dry fish. But it's hard to say you like something without saying, I want it. And Hawaiian works the same way. You say, maki maki ao. I like it or I want it. And so something we'll find out is English you just tend to talk about liking things a little bit easier. But there's other ways you could say dry fish is delicious, or there's other things that you could say. But just remember, if you're saying this, people might interpret it as, they're probably going to usually interpret it as you want that thing, right? And then there's some other things we'll learn about this later, but this shows you how to interpret, to want, like, or desire, or for it to be pleasing. So the question, if you want to say, what do you want? Dasa ituasagu.
Dasa ituasagu.
Dasa ituasagu.
Dasa ituasagu.
And then you can say a thing, and we'll just send this one around the room. We'll practice it first, and you can fill in the blanks, whatever you want. And then I'll say, tuwasagu.
Achtuwasigu.
Tuwasagu.
Achtuwasigu.
Tuwasagu.
Achtuwasigu.
So we'll just send this one around in the room, and then those of you online, I'll call on you. Dasai tuwasagu. Okay. Dasai tuwasagu.
Inachtuwasigu.
Dasai tuwasagu. Okay. Dasai tuwasagu. Dasai tuwasagu.
Wasus le yi ach tu wasagu.
Okay. Jeez. Dasai tuwasagu.
Click. Achtuwasigu.
Okay. Dasai tuwasagu.
Guakan le aktuasiku.
Okay. Dasai tuwasagu.
Tina achtuasigu.
Oh, okay. Dasai tuwasagu.
Late achtuasagu.
Okay. Let's see. Kachanis. Dasai tuwasagu.
Sa ihi aktuasigu.
Okay. Kuch yeti. Dasai tuwasagu. What's kanach? Dasai tuwasagu. Kuch yeti. Okay. We didn't hear you, but I hope you get it. Kashke kadeoji dasai yi tuwasagu.
Sadly, tuasigu. Deujaya. Naidi aktuasigu.
How? Okay. Juan Klein dasai tuwasagu.
Nuxiat achtuasigu.
Okay. Yete kuka dasai tuwasagu.
Can you hear me?
Ah.
Okay. Ziskli achtuasigu.
Yacht dasai tuwasagu.
Yata achtuasigu.
Ah, go ahead, Juan. I think that was everybody. Yake. I guess. Asa?
Uchiedi. So,
Oh, Uchedi Yewaka Chayu Achtuasagu. Yake. I hope it all comes to you. I didn't bring all of that stuff, sorry. Let's take a break, and then when we come back from break, I just want a short discussion on what do you think it's going to take to just speak Tlingit. Naskadushu Winnets Anach. We'll rest for 8 minutes.
8. Counting.
Next Tuesday, we'll go over the Language Summit agenda. It's basically 3 straight days all the way through, basically going morning through evening. It's basically some discussion sessions and then some meals, I think. And so I'll try and get some more details for everybody. But, just the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Just know that those days there's solid language stuff going on. It'd be wonderful if you could make as much as you can. We probably won't be meeting down here. So we won't be meeting as a class, but we will be down there, and that whole thing will be live streamed. There'll be translators who can help with the translation. As intermediate learners, just figure out your comfort zone going back and forth between just listening to the Tlingit and then listening to the translation. Just sometimes you might get kind of tired or a little bit lost if you're only listening to the Tlingit. If you're only listening to the English, then you're kind of missing out on some golden opportunities, but it'll be recorded and we'll have chances to watch it again. And so just keep that in mind. The idea was just trying to get some sessions going. Some of the sessions were like about language and healing, overcoming historical traumas and cycles of trauma, what it was like for folks to grow up with the language and how it might be changing now. Or learn, I think it's shocking for people who grew up with the language to see how people learn the language now because it's so different. But it just kind of has to be. And then there's other sessions on storytelling, on oratory. Remember any of the other categories that we were kind of talking about?
Comprehenders.
Yeah, and then there's going to be some sessions for folks who can understand the language, the comprehenders, but maybe aren't able to fully speak it yet. Yeah, and I think there's some solution out there we haven't found yet to try and unlock a little bit more language with folks. There'll be times when all the men go to one, or the males, and then the females go to another spot just to sort of talk about just developing more spaces and ideas on how to create language environments, which is something I hope we continue to do. And that, as a language learner, you have the authority to go and create these spaces, whether it's trying to figure out a time and place that works for folks to get together. Tlingit game nights, Tlingit, everybody, let's go shop at, wherever on this particular day of the week. If you can make it, go ahead. We're just going to try and shop in the language. There's ways, I think, to create more of a living language community. It does take coordination, and it also takes, multiple people just running with it. And so there'll be quite a few sort of discussions. The goal is to push and try and stay in Tlingit as much as we can, because we'll have so many speakers. I mean, I think they've got at least 50, 60 confirmed speakers. There's 30 people coming down from Teslin, who I've been teasingly calling them a caravan. Caravan. They're coming down from Teslin.
From the north now.
Yeah, right, from all sides. And then, so it's wonderful to think about like this convergence and just seeing some folks and seeing who can speak, and also just figuring out what more can we do? What can we do more effectively? Those are things that I would love to always talk about.
You can say it's November.
Yeah.
13, 14,
13, 14, 15.
out here.
Yeah, it's going to be at Centennial Hall.
Oh, in town.
Yeah.
Do we have to pre-register?
No, you can register there. But I'll get as much detail as I can so that we can open the registration, start letting folks know. I did send a message to say, we got to start getting the word out on this thing so that people can put it in their calendars and come, and so everybody feels welcome. Yeah. So thinking about, the other thing I wanted to just sort of bring up is, Manny was here hanging out with us, and he came up and talked to me about an idea that he had, which was saying if something that might help folks with the language is even when you're sleeping, put the language around you somehow. And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. There's a lot of us, when we were learning, we would just, it's like I listen to music and a lot of my spare time, and now my time is half music, half Tlingit. And also just putting the language on, even when you're just doing stuff like your household chores, you have to create that environment where the language lives. And even if you don't fully know what's being said, having that language around you really helps that subconscious part of your brain. Your brain does so much behind the scenes work. Like I think the sort of on the stage stuff, you're like, wait, what is this? This is that thing, this is that thing. But then your brain, there's all this other stuff going on. Burning these new pathways, figuring out these other ways of thinking. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are out there for you as resources. One is I have a Google folder, which I can share with everybody if I haven't already, which has all of the resources that I've collected. So it's got there's lots of the books, there's lots of other things. I can't put everything on the internet because then I get some nasty grams from people who have copyright to things. But if it's in Tlingit, it's going to be there, right? And then I'll send that to you. I'll email that link, and then you could download that stuff. There's in every image that I use for the books that I've made and stuff, I really want people to have access to those and to use them. Make stuff, use stuff, there's posters, there's all kinds of things in there. There's also, if you go to the advanced Tlingit, I'll put this on the intermediate Tlingit site this evening. But one of our classes a little while ago, we talked about this thing called the Dauenhour Collection Finding Guide. So the Dauenhour Collection is this huge collection of recorded Tlingit. And then there's also the Tlingit Conversations by Jacques, and there's also the Alaska Native Language Center has a bunch of stuff up there. But one of the things that See Alaska did a little while ago was to hire speakers and to have them listen to the Dauenhour collection and just summarize what was on there. And then they made this finding guide. So you have this finding guide here, and it tells you usually who's on there and what they're talking about. And then what the important part here is if it says the tape number. So the way I like to do this is for students of Tlingit, if you look at this and you find something and you say, hey, I'd really like to get tape whatever, that's my uncle, that's my grandma, that's my village, whatever. If there's something on there, then usually if you just send me a message, the way that I like to do that is on this website under resources, you can go to audio, and this is always a work in progress, but here's a bunch of stuff. So here's the conversations that Jacques, here's her project, and I'm starting to put these up there. And so you can play them when the technology works. When you push this button, it'll play. Oh. You go to different sections. And then if you push this little down arrow, you can download that file, right? And then you go down, and then there's Kashkabu is Cyril George. There's some stories from him. What's that? Yeah, these are MP3. So then once you download them, you can put them onto your own devices. Kahuan Ish is George Davis. Kengisti is David Katzig. And so and then if you go down towards the bottom, here's Hashuka. So whenever I've located the audio for the stories that were published in the Downhauer book, I put them on here so you can read these stories like Duktut or Tagka or Katz, and you can listen to them as well. And I think these exercises are very helpful because you could read it, and then you could read the translation, so you already know what the story is saying. And then you just keep listening to it. And your brain does a lot of that connection work. Here's from Hatu Nagu Yis. Here's the big speech by Jesse Dalton. And then here's some stuff from the Raven book, which I end up moving. But basically, usually when somebody asks me for a tape, I'll just put the name of it right there. So I'll just put the whole tape up there. Someone says, hey, you know, I really want to listen to this. It's got the Wushkitan something on there. So I'll just put it up there, but I won't say what's on there. But that's usually how I like to take care of that. And then you've got the finding guide, and I'll say, oh yeah, it's tape 185. Just because maybe that's not everybody's business, who knows? Like there's clan migration stories, there's cry songs, there's all kinds of stuff that does go in there. And that's important. But we don't need to sort of broadcast what's out there. And so I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just trying to sort of protect the information by having these sort of systems. And then it's always in Tlingit. You know, usually these recordings are almost all in Tlingit. And so, but it's a great way to sort of build your, stockpile of audio. Yeah, so I just want to share that. And here, what are some ideas for things that are going to help you to sort of really get the Tlingit Yakanadane flowing? What do you think?
I remember in the beginning Tlingit work, or just the book, like at the beginning of every chapter there were some dialogues that we would practice, and they're just basically greetings and like asking how you are and things like that. And I still use phrases from those a lot. We would practice those like every class. And just like little short conversations written up to memorize would be helpful.
Okay. Do more of those conversation drills and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I learn well from stories, and I wondered if other learners do too.
Yeah, and so like, and with these stories, like if you look at, one of these, let me just open one of these. So if we look at Hashuka, for example, and then we can go into one of these stories, like here's Kak. So we see you ha'ani ayu. And then it's got the English for us too. I don't know if I can get this to display it for me. Yeah, there it is. So if we look at this, one of the fun things that we can do as learners, encountering these narratives, you ha'ani ayu, that land of ours. So we've got the English there already. Then we can come back and say, do I know how all of those pieces of language work? That over there, ha, our, ani, possessed form, ayu, it's way over there. You ha ani, huk, Ayu, you do a sock. Oh, it's called baskets, right? And so we start to just test ourselves to say, what are the things in here that I don't know? So if I didn't know this, shaduch ishtin, then I was like, oh, well, I might try and mess around with that, see if I can figure out how it works. So shah is the head of something, like this is a verb. So in there we've got the head of something. Duh, do we know what the duh part is in there? Du?
Somebody's.
Yeah, people do it, somebody does it. And then here's the verb root, khish, which is to club. And it usually gets a T on the end because it's an action that happens in a sequence. And then the een part means it doesn't happen anymore. Right? And then, so eventually we'll learn how to recognize all of these parts, right? So you say, ayu, saw, seals, ayu, and we're just getting ayu a lot. It's a narrative device, just like awe. What we find is when speakers are using ayu instead of awe, they're talking about something a long time ago. And then when you have this verb, shaduchishtin, the part is saying it happened there, at that place. Shaduchishtin. People used to club these seals over at that place. Ututk, then we look up utk and we'll find it means earth or soil or land. And this is a way to just sort of have a little bit of a closer experience with these stories. So much of the work has already been done for you. Then when you come back in there, you'll see how are they making these sentences? How does this stuff work? How do I get from here to there? Because you've already got the answers. And then you can always come into here and say, hey, what does this say? How does this work? I was really curious about this part. And so this is, and there's some gems that are in here, some really good stories for some really amazing storytellers. Okay, other ideas? Other things that might help you, Rosalind?
I like to find like a sentence or a word that I can use every day with my kids, mainly my 2-year-old. And I'll ask it to him and he'll repeat it or he'll answer it back to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we learned Wakdan, which now I've realized he doesn't know it in English when he comes using it.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, there's a phrase book too that I'll put on our website that was like language in the home. So it's like language you can use in each room. And we're having fun. We were really just talking about this language nest idea probably 3 or 4 years ago. And we got these elders together to collect some phrases that you might use with little kids. And they were being very funny. But then they were saying, well, all you really need to know is like, you know, knock it off, don't touch it, shut up. It's the ones that we started, and we're just really laughing. But yeah, those are always good, like these day-to-day things, especially that you can just start doing a substitution for. Like I could just say, in my house, we just say, achchitsa inhin, instead of, can you get me some water? Achchitsa inhin. And then we don't have to say it the other way. You know, and so it's always going to be a negotiation for some folks. There's some stuff you might not be able to fully replace, but then when we see each other too, we can just start using more and more of these phrases, using more and more of these things, and when we're getting stuck or if we get corrected, we don't jump out and just switch to English, because it's always, you know, for a while, it's going to be easier to switch to English. But if we just stay in Tlingit, then we'll push ourselves, and we'll also figure out the longer we could stay in Tlingit, the more often we can do that, the more we'll realize where our blank spots are, and we'll just work on filling those blank spots. Okay. Any other thoughts, ideas?
Having a speaker to ask and to talk with like having cocker shots in the school makes a big difference.
Right.
Because I can talk about something, then I'm going to say what it is. Before I say it, she says it. It's like sangatana. So I was describing it to her, she just popped out, and I thought, cool, I know how to say it now, because she said it. And so that access to speakers really makes a difference.
Yeah.
And they're always fun too, sitting with my mom and my aunt Pinky.
Yeah.
And then she had Selena Everson, her sister. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughter.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, working with speakers, if you know speakers, it's just, and this is the thing, you know, if you can make it to the summit too, you'll start to see who these folks are. And, you know, if you can just say, hey, can I spend time with you? Is there ways I can help your life? I can do things for you. I can pick up your groceries, and then you could teach me some things, you know, just try and find those relationships that you can build, you know, because it's so valuable to have somebody right there who can just answer those questions as you have them. You okay? Other ideas? Other thoughts?
During the Sea Alaska Kusti Institute, Robbie Littlefield took us to the tram, and she created a menu in the language, and we couldn't order until we talked to each other. So, excuse me, we had a menu, and then we would ask each other, what would you like? And then we would order from Robbie. She would write down what we wanted, and then she would turn it over to our waitress. But that hands-on opportunity to use the language, that was really nice. And then I remember taking classes from Florence, and I don't know if you've done this with your class, but one of the things that she challenged us to do was to come up with our own phrases. And being younger, this is a long time ago, it was Mary Folletti, Ray Wilson, Vivian, myself, a few others. And I remember one of the things we used to say to each other was "Wassaway cake." And then, you know, I mean, we knew not to say that to an elder or to a leader, but and then we started to challenge each other with coming up with new things to say to each other. I don't know.
There's a power in sort of having some ownership in a language where you can do some things like that. So like Wassaway cake would be like, what's up, dog, right? And so to do some things like that where, and sometimes, you know, when we'd work with the elders, like we'd get them a little grumpy, like, you know, we're like, wasagachtusa hot dog. What are we going to call a hot dog? And one of us said, yatai cake, which would be like hot dog. And then, you know, like, banasi aya. You know, and so, but then also just sort of having fun and just sort of having these things that just become yours and that you can use and that become help. They form an identity, and you're not going against what the old people are saying, not by any means, but you are taking some of these opportunities to just have fun with it and to explore these areas. And you know, you're not going against what they say, but you are developing this sort of, you see it with all kinds of populations and language. Like they have their own sort of things that they say, and it does help create this group identity, and it's important. And then there's a bunch of other things that a lot of us learn how to say that we think are funny. And sometimes we get them from the stories recorded from people who were old, way long, like these people were old in the 50s, right? And then he said, like there's a story and it starts out, it says, Raven lives in a rock house. Hatetsu And he also uses a rock for a chair. And he's really sitting carefully on his anus on the rock, right? It's a really funny sort of a verb. But then you see like old people long time ago were using that kind of thing. And so we started using that verb and other things like that. And it means to just really be sitting super upright, I think. But yeah, just sort of having these parts of the language that you can kind of claim, which I think is important. Okay. Well, let's get back to our chapter maybe, and I know we'll start going through, I keep saying we're going to go through our lists. So we said ach tuwasagu. So then you can also say, everybody say ach tuwasagu.
Ach tuwasagu.
Do tuwasagu.
Do tuwasagu.
Ach tuwasagu.
Ach tuwasagu.
Do tuwasagu.
Do tuwasagu.
So then when you say you want, like, so here's the get again, right? So it's popping up now right after the thing, right? So we'll say water, we'll use heen. Heen get tuwasagu.
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 This is what that get does, right? So we don't want our kids walking around saying heen tuwasagu, because that's not a question, right? Heen get tuwasagu. Right? And then all kinds of things. Dana get tuwasagu. Atra get tuwasagu. Kahwe get tuwasagu. Gwachchayu. Do you want coffee or maybe tea? Right? And so you could put guash after that, which means maybe. So you can have this sort of phrase. That worked that way. So you can have blank, yeah, tuwasagu, guash, blank. So this is just saying, do you want this or maybe that, right? So if I had an array of things up here, like many different things, I had kahwe, chayu, and heen, and kahini. You know, I could say dasai tuwasagu, or I could say kahwe ge tuwasagu, wash chayu, wash heen, wash kahini. Right, and that's just saying, do you want coffee or maybe water, maybe tea, maybe juice? That's what the guash is doing. Guash means maybe, right?
But you don't have to keep adding ga.
No. Now, we've got the ge, and we already know, right? And then and so the ge just puts it into this yes or no, right? Because I could also say, another way I could say this is if I had this variety of things up here, and what if I wanted to say to you, because you only get one, like you came for your Halloween candy, and I laid out these 5 options, and what if I wanted to say, which one of these do you want? How would I say that?
Asa.
Nasa.
Sa ituwasagu.
Asa ituwasagu.
Sa ituwasagu.
Asa ituwasagu.
So just going back to those questions, dasa is what? It's like totally open-ended. Sa is which one of these? And then na, when we heard that, the na on there, that's usually how we hear that. It's like which clan, sa. But in this case, sa ituwasagu. Which one do you want? Right? And so, and if I had a bunch of these things, if I had all these different types of candy, and you said, I could just say, which one? And then you say, I want them all, right? I want everything. Yeah. So then you've got a yes or no question, right? This is usually a yes or no question. Ke'e tuasagu. And then you could not want it. And then the verb actually changes, right? It's a different verb to have to go from siku to ushku. So ushku is the negative form of this. It's like the opposite. Like, I don't want it. And usually when we have this one, the noun comes last instead of first. So for example, we're going to say, Hinach tuasagu. Oh, just Hinach tuasagu.
Hinach tuasagu.
Kash ach tuwa ushku hin. Kash ach tuwa ushku. Kash ach tuwa ushku. And then whatever it is could come after it, right? And so, but you could also just say teshach tua ushka, right? So someone could say hinge tua sagu. You can say klaik. You can say teshach tua ushka. That's coming at it pretty hard. Like, I don't want the water. But you can, this works for other things as well, right? Like, I don't want something, and it could be like, it can get kind of bigger. Like, I don't want you to get lost. I don't want you to get lost. Well, I was just having fun, and you gotta be careful, but I was having fun with a friend, and we're exchanging like insults, and so we'd say like, I don't want to see you. So we're just joking. But this is usually like some kind of noun, right? A lot of times as we learn it in this pattern, so we know tlaik is no, we know klesh is not, and then achtuwa to desire, and then the sigu is happy, ushku on its own means unhappy, right? And so there's a few of these things in Tlingit where you can have happy, not happy, unhappy. This is the unhappy part, right? Same with, you can have good, not good, terrible, right? So you can have yak-e, kash-uk-e, kash-ushk-e. And you're usually just going to hear those two. So you can have the same thing. You have siku, kash-isku, kash-ushku, right? So this is the opposite of siku. Okay, any questions? So let's take a look, and we'll start going through these lists that we're building. Of these things, we're going to recite in the month of December. Let's push the whole thing back to December. What did I challenge you guys to do? 15 nouns, is that right? 15 nouns, 5 verbs, 3 of these other things. And what are these other things? We've learned some directional and locational suffixes and postpositions. We have learned, we've looked at some adjectives and adverbs just a little bit. And so that's what those other things are, right? So we could say dicky, or dicky, and dayki, and atayi, dak, ik, kedain, konach, those types of things, right?
Yagen.
Ziyagen, ziyak, right? And to be able to use those as more than just one word things, right? Because we usually learn, especially ziyagen, we learn how to use that pretty early, but just to say to use it in addition to a verb, right? So or ziyak would be like a little while ago. Ziyak oeyin kachwanik. A little while ago, I told you all. Ziyak anawe atkachtucha. A little bit later, we're going to eat. So we'll go through these, and then if we need to make changes, just let me know. I might have made some slight changes to it already. If you just put like a verb root in there, I usually put it in a certain sort of mode. But here's the word list, and then I'm hoping by next week I'll have the total word list on there. I'll make sure I send this link out to this document so you can look at it, print it, change it, whatever you want to do. If you want me to change it, I could change it. We'll start getting this list pretty much complete. And then what your final will be is to recite this list. And then I think that's a pretty good final, right? We'll maybe look at exploring this one-page letter maybe next semester. We might push that back because this is going to be a lot of work to stand up and to memorize these and then to continue learning the stuff that we're already learning. Okay, so we have Tlingit here in the translation over here. We've got what types of things these are. So the first one on this one, we'll just go through them each a couple times. Shak,
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 isuk,
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 ak,
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 kajosh,
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 kashahini,
kaslahini,
kashahini.
kaslahini.
And to answer the question is, I've got everybody's list on here. We're gonna go through it. And then if you find that you picked a word and then maybe one dictionary you found it in and it has sort of a little bit different meaning on here, just ask about it and we could talk about it. Because sometimes things have kind of a vague general meaning, and then when we look in these other lists, it really has this pretty specific meaning. Uchyach yadatuch. Uchyach yadatuch. Ichtedeyi. Ichtedeyi. Atwududzakuchuat. Atwududzakuchuat. Ya'at nasqueni.
Ya'at nasqueni.
Ya'at nasqueni.
Ya'at nasqueni.
Kashuk kaqeyi.
Kashuk kaqeyi.
Kashuk kaqeyi.
Kashuk kaqeyi.
Shkun ye janeyi.
Shkun ye janeyi.
Shkun ye janeyi.
Shkun ye janeyi.
That should be high tone. And if you're saying school, you could say schoon or shkoon. Whichever you prefer. There's also longer words for school. Tu'uchtzayet.
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 And that's a wind instrument. We started coming up with, like a saxophone we came up with a word for. And I'm sure we can cook up other, but this is just a general wind instrument. It's probably the default. Someone might think of like a flute. Egu.
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 Ichjakuk.
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 Nigwach.
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 Then we've got some verbs, and so just putting a lot of these into the third person if you didn't pick something different. So if you want a different mode, just let me know. But you only have to remember it in one form. So you don't have to use the verb in a bunch of different ways. Although next semester we're really going to start to learn how to manipulate these verbs so that once you learn it one way, you'll be able to put it in a bunch of different other ways. Asechan.
Asakhan.
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 Ashikan.
Ashakan.
Ashikan.
Ashakan.
Ach.
Ah.
Ach.
Ah.
Ashuk. Ashuk.
Ashuk.
Ajun.
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 Shakshake.
Shaklage.
Shakshake.
Shaklage.
Hudach.
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 Hudach. Hudach.
Hudach.
Shishuku. Shishuku.
Shishuku.
I don't know why this thing didn't like kutch and kudach, but allowed everything else to be. So I turned the spelling off. But like thinking of like making up words and using things like I made up this one. It was kushikani, which I was using for hater. Like, you know, people use that these days. Oh, he's a hater, right? Kushikani means he or she, a hater of people. And this was Adnyanachkla. And then, and just let me know if you have any thoughts about your words. Maybe next week we'll share like some, I would like to hear from you next week about why you picked these words and just, so Christian has Hadashechi.
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 Qitqa. Qitqa. Qijadi.
Ijadi.
Qijadi.
Ijadi.
Shlach. Oh wait, is that? Yeah, that's right. Shlach. Shakti.
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 Is this one that, did you pick all of these or did I just give you a whole bunch of them?
I think you gave me some extra.
Okay.
That's cool.
Sometimes like I think there'll be one and then I put a bunch in there and I forgot, but because there's options. So like, this one is kind of fun because klach would be like a tree it's dead, but it's still standing. And that, like, this is important because when my uncle, and he's from the Haines area, and so when he smokes fish, he uses duk, cottonwood. And not just any cottonwood. He'll go find one that's shlach. It's a dead tree that's still standing. And it'll have a big crack in it. And we'll go out and we'll look for just the right tree. And then he'll find it and he'll cut it down. And then he'll cut it into chunks. But it's got that big crack and he'll just use a torch and light the inside of that crack and it'll burn out like that, smoldering. And so that's how he likes to find it. And then chakti is a tree that's fallen over because it dried out and it just kind of broke. Idati is a tree that falls over and its roots are poking up like this. And then chao is a big piece of driftwood on the beach, like a big piece on the beach, or just a log that's on the forest floor. And so you don't have to do all of them, but you can if you want. You can narrow it down if you want. It's your list. Sometimes it just makes me think of things and I start putting things on there. Idati.
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 Chao.
How.
Chao.
How.
And there's a story, Yesh Kanata, raven and blueberries. And it's got a bunch of these in there because he has his eyes keep an eye out for a boat because he doesn't like to be seen when he's eating because I think he eats like crazy. And then, and his eyes keep saying, a boat is coming, a boat is coming. But then it's just all these different types of fallen trees that are in the water. Okay, so the south wind or a storm at sea, Eishja
Isja.
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 If there's more than one way to say it, you could just pick one, whichever one you want. Top of the mountain, Shashaki.
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 That's also the name of the Chilkoot Trail. And a ptarmigan, Ace Awa.
Ace Awa.
Ace Awa.
Ace Awa.
Down feathers, Hwash.
Wash.
Hwash.
Wash.
A longer feather, Ow.
Cow.
Ow.
Cow.
It's also a flipper on a fish. And then a bump, like not quite a hill, but a little mound, Goot.
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 And then a hill with a little, this is usually a pretty small hill, I think. And this is just like, especially like an animal likes to make its little nests kind of on there, especially like rabbits and things like that, so they can see the things coming. New tuck.
New tuck.
New tuck.
New tuck.
And then a mountain without any trees on the top. Shashach.
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 Valley. Shanach.
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 A hemlock tree. Yun.
Yan.
Yun.
Yan.
The side of the trail or the path or the road. Deyach.
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 So this yach part means along the edge of something. So you could be nadal yach. And so that's how you say like to sit around the table. Nadal yach qayqeh. Sit around the table, everybody. And you can go yach on a road. You go yach on a river. You go yach on a lake. And so this one is a good one to remember because a lake does not have niche. The only niche in the world is the one that's where the land meets the ocean. The lake shore would be ayach or ayach, either one. And same with the river. Darkness, kaqit. Kaqit. And then the verbs here, she or he or it is flying, yandaqin.
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 Climbing the face of it, ayach keinaqet.
Ayach keinaqet.
Ayach keinaqet.
Ayach keinaqet.
Someone to limp, shakachk.
Shekach.
Shakachk.
Shekach.
And molting or having their hair falling out, isqatch.
Iskach.
Isqatch.
Iskach.
There are some nouns that if they're taking place in like a repetitive way, what's going to happen is this classifier is zit. But in a repetitive type of thing, it's going to change to minus I, which is just going to be the letter S. That means there has to be a vowel inserted there, and the letter I just gets put in there as a placeholder. We call it a peg vowel. The other place you see this is you could say, wudzikak. I should probably write this one down. So wudzikak means, I think that's wudzikak. I think it's under color. So wudzikak, there it is. is for a fish to change its color, particularly a sockeye or a coho when they enter the fresh water. And so you'd say wudzak, and this is where the word comes from. For that's the name of that fish. Once it changes its color, we'll call it ak, and this is where hit comes from. The shukach adi chilkat blanket. But with this one, you say ischak. They regularly change their color, or they change their color every time they hit that fresh water. So this z becomes an s, and that means they're a verb. You can't just have the classifier without a vowel. There will have to be a vowel before that classifier. It's just one of these kind of more advanced rules. And that's what's going on here. So halfway up the face of something or halfway up the mountain, yakatut, 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 yakatut. To go over it or going towards the top of it, kade,
Kade,
kade.
kade,
And up above or way up high, diki,
ki,
diki.
ki.
Oh, gao it going. We went over time. Gonna cheesh. We'll keep going through these lists. I've got some folks. I'll make sure I send this link out tonight. Take a look at it. If there's something you have a question about, let me know. If there's something you want to change, let me know, or just change it yourself. And we'll keep going through these so that you'll be able to at least have a chance to hear and repeat it.
Don't forget to have some deer stew.
Oh, gook. Ha.